Thank you, Lakshmi.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Dr. Lakshmi Vyas, the former principal of Elphinstone College, Mumbai, and professor of Geography and Environment. And currently I am the SACRE member, that is Standing Advisory Committee for Religious Education, member of the Royal Borough of Greenwich. So I'm going to be talking to you on perspectives and practices of environment with reference to Vedic scriptures, Puranas and epics. Let me tell you that when we were small and we were being brought up by my parents at home, we had this sort of a learning where my father used to teach and recite the Vedas in one line, two line every day to us, and early morning, there should be music on the radio which used to play the epics and the Puranas and the songs and the scriptures, and we've grown up actually listening to these things. So it was an easy thing for me to talk on something on scriptures, though I do not know by heart all the scriptures. I have to read it through, but I know to read Sanskrit. And environment is a part of me. Like, I love the environment, the way God has created. I would like to retain it the same way always. So the global religions, each in their own way, offer a unique set of moral values and rules to guide human beings in their relationships. Sanskrit is an important language in which all the scriptures were written, and the sages in those days, they always advocated Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning we'll all, whether it is in USA or China or whichever part of the world, we are one family. And this one family attitude is very important because we all together have to preserve the environment. So, you can't do only in India or only in US, it has to be universal. Vedas is the only treasure house of knowledge of our present thought, which is scripted in Sanskrit. Now, Sanskrit is not only just a language, but it is a powerhouse and a vast treasure of various disciplines like linguistics, mathematics, astrology, and so many other things. And we are very proud that Sanskrit is called the mother of all languages. The objective of this paper is, number one, to identify and classify the environmental issues depicted in Vedic literature, to explain the relevance of 4 Vedas in the present time, to extend ample scope of research for the interested students of modern time, to know about types of solution to environmental crisis of Vedic period, and to look at the scope of implementing the Vedic knowledge to the current population. Now, this, if you have the slides in front of you, this is the diagram of Veda, and you can see that how complicated it is. You have the Veda, which is divided into Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Athar Veda, and Rig Veda, which is one of the oldest. And then you have the Smritis, then you have the Darshan Shastra, and then Purana, and Gita, and then again when you come down you have Vedanta, Upavad, and it is like, when you see the diagram, it is actually like a cobweb. So, it is that intricate it is, and people have literally by heart they could say these Vedas in the past, because when they are 2 years, 3 years old, they go in front of the sages and then they learn it. It is remarkable that the people in Vedic times regarded nature and the environment in a holistic manner and revered each of its constituents and entities by carefully preserving them. And there are a lot of Sanskrit narrations like Madhuvata, Nitaye, Madhu, Kasranti, Siddhava. All this has a meaning. This is, I'm just, because I'm telling about the scriptures, I have put all these slokas. So the English meaning of that is, do not harm the environment, do not harm the water and the flora. Earth is my mother, I am her son. May the waters remain fresh, do not harm the waters. Tranquility be to the atmosphere, to the waters, to the crops and vegetation. So I'm not going to read all of them like this, but if you see my slides, there is a Sanskrit sloga and the English meaning for it.
Actually, please do read the Sanskrit and the English.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay. The Vriksha Ayurveda says that planting one tree is equally beneficial as having 10 sons. That is, Dasakupa Sama Vapi Dasa Vapi Samarada Dasarada Samaha Putro Dasaputra Sama. This is the Vriksha Ayurveda number 5. Again, I'm going to tell about the environment, talk about the environment. We have the Tulsi plant. All of you know that how sacred it is. I mean, they tell you if you eat one leaf every day, you'll be away from any disease. So there is a prayer for Tulsi which says, Jaba dinani tulasi rupitapi jada grihe grihe tabad varsha sahasrani vaikunte sa mahitli. Meaning, he will live in heaven for so many years as the Tulsi plant will be in his house for the equal number of days.
So in English it's a basil, is it?
It is a
basil species.
Okay, thank you.
Tulsi is called as basil, that is the Pipla and Vat Vraksha, that is banyan tree and the people tree. That in Atharveda it is said that Aswatu Deva Sadana Striyasta Mityo Divi, meaning it was prohibited to cut the Vat Vriksha, that is Vat tree, or the people tree, because the gods live in it. And the people tree, if you plant the people tree, they say that around that tree and around that area there is no disease that occurs. That is Tatra Mitra Sayo Sakana Deva Kushta Mavanat Kushta Mavanvat, meaning you will be happy, there won't be any disease. This is also supported in Srimad Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna, saying Asvatu Sarva Vignaham, meaning it cures, these trees they cure all the impurities. For example, it is said that nowadays, according to the modern science, the peepal tree and the vat tree, that is the banyan tree, consume carbon dioxide from the air and give out oxygen and thus balance the air. Similarly, the Aushadhi Sukta of Rig Veda addresses to the plants and vegetables as, O mother, hundreds are your birthplaces and thousands are your shoots. That is, in Sanskrit it is said as Satanabu Amba Damoni Sahasramutatu Ruha. That is Rig Veda 10:97-2. Similarly, the Hindus have worshipped the Bilva tree, the Kadamba, the Rudraksha, the Champaka, the Bakula, and so many other trees have been worshipped on a regular basis, even today. In the Maitrayani Samhita, the earth has been described as Deva Janani. That is Deva Janani meaning the giving birth to the entire world. And that's why the Indian sages like Manu, they suggested that plants should not be cut, trees should not be cut, and we have to really punish people who cut the trees. And many times these sages also perform yagnas. Yagnas meaning they do puja with perfumed heaven and ghee and everything to clear purify the environment. And there is a big prayer for that. The Imam, I have not, you can just read, All the Sanskrit prayers are given in the orange color. This says fire and sun play the most significant role in the purification of environment. Animals and birds are part of the nature and environment. There is a general feeling that Vedic text that animals should be safe and protected and healthy. That is Bhur Bhuva Swaha Suprajati Satya Subisi Virain Supasho Poshaha. That is the full thing. Are you getting it? In Veda, the Rig Veda is one of the oldest one, and they have grouped the animals into three categories. The animals that live in the sky, that's birds, etc. Then animals that live in the forest, and then animal in human habitation. That is Tasma Yajnat Sarvahuta Samravatan Prasadyat. Pasuna ta sakare, meaning it says that all these three people in the sky, in the land and the human being, they have to live together in a holistic way. Again, protection of animals is a norm for Hindu religion. That's why we have so many gods who are represented as animals and who have incarnated several times as animals, like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, etc. And you will also find that people may be laughing and you have an elephant god or a monkey god, but all that has a symbolic value because every god or goddess, they have an animal as vahana. Like Saraswati has a cow, or Sri Krishna has again a cow. So this says that you have to respect animals, you have to live along with the animals, they are a part of you. So cobra is worshipped, even snakes are worshipped because on the eve of Nag Panchami you will see that there is one day in the year allotted only for the prayer of snakes, that is Nag Panchami. Similarly, there is one day allotted for the worship of cows, that is called as Bala Bada Puja. This is usually done during the Pongal time, Mahashankranti time. Killing of certain animals and birds, forget that. That is, if you kill any animals and use it to eat or something, it was considered very bad, and they didn't allow such people to, they asked them to move out. Rigvedic seers classified, I think some of the things are repeated, I think. Wrong. Okay. So, like this, there are many slokas for every occasion in Rig Veda, Veda, and also Ramayana or Mahabharata. They give you beautiful examples of how to live in harmony with one another and with the environment. Some of the light that is thrown is awareness of our ancient seers about the environment and its constituents. It is clear that Vedic vision to live in harmony with environment was not merely physical but far wider and much comprehensive. The Vedic sages realized that the pure water, air, etc. are roots to good health and happiness. Hence, they considered all these as gods. The Vedic people desired to live 100 years. And there is again a sloka for this, Taka Surdeva Hitam Purastacha Kamukarat, meaning that means this wish can be fulfilled only when environment is unpolluted, clean, peaceful. Nowadays, various types of environmental laws have been enacted so that the environment is preserved. And there is once again this sloka, a lot of you must be knowing. This was said 3,000 years ago. Shanti Ranka Sati Prithvi, there is a sloka. this says that let there be balance in the space, let there be balance in the sky, let there be balance on the earth, calmness, balance in the growth of plants, balance in the growth of trees. Let there be grace in the God, let there be bliss in the Brahman, let there be balance in everything, peace, peace, peace. That is what this sloka says. I think we must be reciting this in our homes almost every other day. Even in the temples, they say this sloka even today. And this gives you some photographs. This is the Vad Savitri Puja, meaning where women pray the tree. They put thread around the tree just to say we are protecting you. And this is the puja is done every year on one day. Vad Savitri Puja it is called this. And look at the mighty banyan tree. It does not have just one trunk. It has multiple trunks, and that's what they say. I mean, somebody said that how the tree grows. The tree grows a small seed, as small as an ant. It germinates into a little flower, and from this flower it grows into a lofty tree, and this loftiness just spreads around in a very mighty way. And this banyan tree, if you go to see, it's a moving tree, they say, because acres and acres of land will be covered by one banyan tree. That's why it's supposed to be very, very important. And you can see the denseness of the banyan tree, how dense it is, how protective it is. This is the next picture is the yagna. Yagna means doing a puja. That also helps to purify the environment. You must have heard that when there is, in India for example, when the rain is delayed, people do yagna. So they pray to the rain god that let us have some rain, let us have some rain. And this is the yagna sort of thing that are performed. Then this is the tulsi. Tulsi plant again is sacred to all of us, and this is what every day you have to water the tulsi and pray. And there's so many examples of the scriptures matching the human being's life. For example, our nose, our sense organs are compared to the nature. For example, our nose is related to the earth, the tongue to water, eyes is to the fire, skin to the air, and while our ears is compared to the space. This bond between our senses and the element is the foundation of our human relationship with the natural world. For Hinduism, nature and environment are not outside us. They are an inseparable part of existence. This is again about the banyan tree, how it spreads, etc. This is said by from the Vishnu Purana. What it means is, the Vishnu Purana says, one who plants one people, one neem, one bar, 10 flowering plants or creepers, 2 pomegranates, 2 oranges, and 5 mango trees does not go to hell.
When was it written?
About 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
What's the one?
Vishnu Purana. It is said in Vishnu Purana. It is all written in Sanskrit.
What is one bar?
Huh?
One neem, one bar. The bar is the tree?
Yeah, it's a bark. It's like a teak tree.
Okay.
Where?
In Sanskrit?
Sanskrit.
How do you say it? Neem is?
Teak. In Sanskrit it is called as teak. So which is literally converted into a bar. In English if you put it's a bar.
Bar means a beam.
Yeah, it's like that. Basically that is used for construction.
Okay.
They're very strong. And this one reminds me of Ravana. Ravana is supposed to be the king of, he was the king of Sri Lanka, and he is supposed supposed to be a bad man, but not in front of the current politicians. He's too good when you compare it to them. He is saying, once when he was punished or something for no reason, I have not cut down any fig tree in the month of Vaishak. Why then does this calamity befall me? This serves as a good example to illustrate how Hindus respected trees, which constituted a large part of our environment. Then again, this is again Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktaya prayaschati tadadam bhakta yuparutam asnami prayata manaha. Meaning, what he says is, it's all given in English. I accept a leaf, flower, fruit, water, or whatever is offered with devotion to me. And generally what is offered is coconut is offered. The coconut tree and coconut are sacred and they are offered to the god. Mango leaves, they are used as festoons during the puja. That is, they keep it on the sides. All flowers and leaves and plants are used for worship, which is called as Pushpa Puja or Patra Puja. The lotus is a sacred flower and plant for Hindus. And finally, Tulsi plant or an Indian basil, it is an important symbol in Hindu religious tradition. Again, Kautilya is another historian and he has written an epic called Arthashastra. So he also repeats the same things what we talked about, but he has added a lot of these medicinal plants like I have put teak here, Palmyra, Mimosa, Sisu, Kauki, Shivsira, so many of them. So he said all these plants are also important for us because they are life-saving plants. So this much, whatever I talked was on the scriptures. Now I go into what is happening around. So I'm going to introduce what is vegetarianism and environment. Here I'm going to talk about the animals. Livestock industry is one of the biggest exploiters of animals and is responsible for mass suffering and death. Every year, tens of billions of animals are killed for food and most endure lives of constant fear and torment. That is, most animals, they live in fear and torment. Nearly all the animals raised for food in America today are separated from their families and crammed by thousands into filthy warehouses where they spend their entire lives abysmally filthy conditions. They are mutilated without the use of painkillers and deprived of everything that is natural and important to them. On the killing floor, many animals are conscious and struggling to escape while their throats are cut, and some are still conscious while their bodies are hacked apart, or when they are dunked into tanks of scalding hot water. Please go to the next also. Besides this, I'm not going into details now. You can quite imagine, what happens in the slaughterhouses. So besides this animal suffering, we also have animal agriculture. To feed the animals, they do livestock farming. That is animal agriculture, it is called as. It contributes to total environmental destruction. Raising animals for food requires massive amount of land, food, energy and water, and it results only in polluted land, water or air. So suppose if they are growing soya or sugarcane or whatever for the cattle or the livestock, once they don't rotate the cultivation, they keep planting the same thing again and again, and that land becomes a total waste. The United Nations has acknowledged that raising animals for food is one of the top 2 or 3 most significant contributors to the most serious environmental problems at every scale, from local to global. and the resources going towards feeding billions of animals used for food could be used more wisely to combat world hunger. Now this is one example I just put. One cow named Angel cried out in pain and distress as workers used a huge mechanical calf puller to pry her baby violently out of the womb. She had no way to escape the assault because she was being restrained by a metal clamp that tightly gripped her around the hips. The calf died during the birth and the angel died several days later after having been denied veterinary care. I mean, the story goes on like this. Similarly, there are calves and little cows. They're always separated from their mothers. The mothers, and the photographs I give you will explain many things. This is a photograph. It takes up to 13 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of meat. Next. Cruelty to animals. Next. Cows converted into burgers. See the way they are kept. Elephants. They are stand like this for more than 24 hours. You can see again here a baby elephant being tortured. And look at the bottom photo, the two elephants, they look so pretty and so good and so peaceful. Again, this is the way the pigs, the sheep are treated. Elephants are actually very sensitive and very pious animals, so they get angry also. But for the slightest disobedience, they are tortured like this. Recently, I was in Thailand, and we had gone to Chiang Mai to see these elephants, and we were not even allowed to touch the elephant or photograph with the elephant or anything like that, because they were saying that even when you walk and come, they can hear the sound, and they don't like too much of sound, and they like a lot of peace, and they are highly emotional animals. So so they were talking about how they cry also. So I mean, it was literally, we were all thinking, what do they do in the circus and on the roads, when they take the elephants for a ride, and I mean, it's really, tears come into your eyes. Again, this is the way they treat the cow. Very sad. And here I have this photo where the cow is full with milk, but she is not able to feed the baby because that milk is for the others. The baby is there. So I mean, I just showed it to you to make it, put it across to the people that in the scriptures, nowhere it is mentioned that you should be cruel to the animals, or you should be manhandle the animals, or do this, use the animals for meat eating. Nothing of this sort is mentioned, but it is being done all these years. Again, China. From bears captured and caged for their bile to dogs and cats slaughtered in horrific ways for their meat. You can, and tens and thousands they kill on a day. I'm skipping that, go to the next please. Again, these are the cruelty that you find in the zoos. All the zoos, whether it is Asia or Africa or USA or anywhere, in all the zoos the animals are treated badly. So Veda tells, next one, Veda tells the purchaser of a flesh performs himsa. Himsa means violence. By his wealth he who eats flesh does So by enjoying its taste, the killer does himsa by actually trying and killing the animal. So I have put all those in different colors. He who brings flesh or sends for it, he who cuts off limbs of an animal, and he who purchases, sells or cooks the flesh and eats it, all of them are considered as meat eaters because they are all party to this action. And this, I just came across these two fluffy baby lambs, so beautiful, and but they will live for, by the time they are 10 months old, you won't see them. They are, nowadays their meat are eaten in a tender, when they are very much tender. That's what the people prefer. Artha Shastra also gives you a lot of importance. But let me tell you, the whole emphasis of the ancient Hindu scriptures is that human beings cannot separate themselves from natural surrounding, and the earth has the same relationship with man as mother with her child. Planting and preservation of trees are made sacred in religious functions. I just brought it to show that it is estimated that China alone cuts or uses 10 million dogs and 4 million cats are slaughtered for their meat each year. Livestock industry uses 50 liters of water to produce 1 kg of beef, and by cutting meat only by 10%, 100 million people can be fed. We were talking about regeneration and hunger, remove hunger. This is the way you can remove hunger. And particularly, next slide. Particularly, I wanted to tell you about this Bishnoi. Bishnois are a tribal community in Rajasthan. And they are very close to the environment, and they had a king called Guru Maharaj Jambaji. So they would cling to the environment, and they lived very happily. But after the Jambaji Maharaj passed away, a new Maharaj of Jodhpur came, and when he came, he wanted to build a new palace. So he sent his men to the Bishnoi village to cut their trees. So the women especially were very arrogant, and they said, no, you cannot cut these trees, and they started embracing the trees. The king ordered that everyone who is not allowing to cut the tree, kill them. So every woman who was embracing the tree, they started killing. That way they killed 363 women were killed in that Bishnoi village. Then the king realized that he is doing something wrong, and he questioned to himself, what am I doing? In spite of killing so many, I am not getting any wood for my palace. What is it? Finally, he gave in, and he gave the village to the Bishnois themselves and allowed them to live the way they want. And he did not make the palace from those wood, but he rebuilt his palace with the old wood, something like that. So this is Bishnois who did it 1,000 years ago. This movement again came back as Chipko movement in Himachal Pradesh in 1973-74. Who I think this movement was headed by Vandana Shiva, I think, one of the topmost.
No, the lady with the name
yes.
No. The grey-haired lady, not Vandana.
Not lady, it is a man who did it. Anyway, I forget his name. Vandana Shiva supported other agricultural and other activities.
I have her face in front of me.
Okay, I'll remember it later, I'll let you know. But this Chipko movement happened in 1973 when I just joined my college. You can think.
I'm thinking now it's in my head.
Now I will go to the third phase of my chapter. This I will just cut it short. This is Ayurvedic medicines and environment. We collect a lot of medicinal plants and trees from the environment, and these medicines are very effective. They may be slow, but they are very effective. So I have listed some of them like ashwagandha, boswellia, brahmi, cumin, turmeric, this licorice root, gotu gala, bitter melon, cardamom. So Ayurvedic medicines have been used by Hindus for time immemorial. Kadas, kashayams, lakes, powders, oils, etc. have been used for a very long time. The Ayurvedic medicines are mainly manufactured in Kottakkal, Kerala, and it is immensely popular. Baba Ramdev, all of you are very familiar, keeps talking about the strength of Ayurvedic medicines. Personally too, I have had very good experience with Ayurveda. Turmeric medicinal plants, trifla, are loaded with medicines which can heal permanently. They are powerhouse of curable properties, including cancer. Why I am telling you my own experience, when I was 15, 16 year old, my hair had grown grey. So I mean, what to do? I had thick hair, but they were going grey, and it was the number of grey hairs were increasing. By 18, I had a lot of grey hair. So my grandmother took me to Ayurvedic, this Kottakkal doctor. He used to give me some oil to apply. Then he used to give me some ghee to eat, and told me to arrowroot water every day morning you have to drink. So this I did for maybe 2 years or so. I didn't even realize I'm taking treatment, but as a normal routine I did for 2 years. At the age of maybe 23, 24, I realized that my grey hairs were disappearing, and by another 1 year or so, I had not a single grey hair. So this is my personal experience of how Ayurvedic medicine helps. Even today, I prefer to take Ayurvedic medicine rather than allopathic medicine. Then again, let us say patency, knowing the advantage of these Ayurvedic medicines, the foreign nationals, they started taking the patency of turmeric or basmati rice or cumin seeds, things like that, and we had to literally fight back from all of them to retain the patency, especially neem, turmeric, basmati rice. So now these are the Indian patented products that we have, and it is important to remember that patency has the number of years. It is not a right, unlimited rights you have. The rights stop at a particular time, and at that time you have to renew it, otherwise somebody else can take it. So that's very important, and that's why I put it that we should not lose any of these patency, because they are so precious to us. Again, probably that is my conclusion. Vedas emphasize that do not cut the trees. So last 2 paragraphs I am reading. Besides Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Sutras and other sacred texts of Hinduism contains a number of references to the worship of the nature. Our Sanskrit mantras daily remind us that our rivers, mountains, trees, animals and earth deserve respect and dignity. The Upanishads are a collection of texts that contain some of the central philosophical concepts of Hinduism. Again, sorry. So, I just reminded of this, that those days, Twitter, meaning those Ayurvedic days, Twitter was a bird sound, www was a keyboard, Google was a baby's burp, cloud was in the sky, Skype was a typo, and 4G was a parking space, and Al-Qaeda was actually a plumber. So, this is how I'm comparing it with what was in the past and what is now. And this is the Ayurvedic products that you have. And I told you I'll show you the cobweb of the Veda. So this is the Vedanta map. Can you, how to put these together and understand? I think, okay, the first one is Ayurvedic product. Next one, second one, it's called as Vedanta map. Did you get it? So this gives you the intricate picture of what is our Indian sculpture and how they are all interrelated to one another. And lastly, if anybody wants to read anything or understand anything about these sculptures, IIT Kanpur has developed a beautiful booklet or a website called Gita Super Site. Here you can get all the information that you need. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we have some questions or comments. You covered so much. Thank you. Would somebody in the room like to ask some questions?
I just went through a flash of a moment. I thought I was in my religious studies class when I was young. Very, very insightful. Thank you. That was very insightful.
Thanks to Jasdevji, because I was making this paper for tomorrow's presentation. Tomorrow I have to present a similar paper at Birmingham at Nishkam Center. So I was but for this particular paper I added vegetarianism and Ayurveda. I added, because that presentation is only for 8 minutes.
Right. Just on picking up on the topic of vegetarianism, how do you make a distinction? Is there any written script about veganism in India? And
Vegan?
Yeah, not vegetarianism, but veganism.
No, there's nothing is written in the scriptures.
It's all vegetarianism. So how do you see
Vegetarianism is it doesn't ban you from drinking milk.
milk and products?
Yeah.
Animal products. Animal products are not banned, basically.
Animal products, only milk, not meat.
Ghee is not banned.
Yeah, so ghee you eat. So that's why that's not vegan.
Yeah.
So
That's not
animal ghee, milk is you are allowed to eat.
Yeah, and cheese, paneer. Yeah, I see. So, I wanted to know if there was something written about veganism in India.
So, I mean, in India we never made cheese or paneer. Cheese we never made. Paneer, of course, we started making little later. But in the sculptures, when the sculptures were written, scriptures were written, there were no paneers that were made or no cheese that was made.
That's right. But whenever you do offerings in the temples, you do panchamrit, and that has milk and curd.
Yes,
and honey.
yes. Yeah, no, they had never banned milk.
Yeah, so that's interesting because
So that is vegetarianism.
Is the core part of the argument, but not veganism. Yeah, so that's one of the distinction, and which is quite different if you go to Shinto philosophy or Buddhist philosophy, where veganism exists more because they don't use any animal products.
They don't use animal products.
Or milk or honey in their food. So that's one distinction.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a religious scholar, but just from observation.
But you're right. Even I have this thought in my mind always. So why did they differentiate? Probably they didn't. I don't know how they kept the milk part of it and forgot that milk is also an animal product.
Yeah, but I think because it goes back to spirituality concept of like cows and you don't kill them, but you use their products. So it's
and there was no commercial use of milk and all those days. Only for needs they used it probably. So they allowed the milk. I mean. But nowadays, ghee is also become an important and a very expensive commodity in most parts of the world because it has some. In Ayurveda, it is proved that ghee has got very many good values. Some people they are banned ghee sometimes, it makes you fat and blah blah blah. But actually ghee is supposed to be good.
yeah. I'm going to have a devil's advocate here, if that's all right.
Yes.
I think you two might end up debating a bit more than what I'm going to ask now. Because in one of your slides, you mentioned about patent. Patenting turmeric and neem and all those sorts of, there were 12 or 13. Indian patent products. It's clear from the title, but do you mean the products coming out of turmeric or cumin seeds and adjoint, or turmeric itself?
Turmeric itself.
But you can't patent a natural product.
It needed to be. United States had got the rights for it. They had taken turmeric, neem, and tulsi. So we had to fight it back and take, basmati rice. So we had to fight it back, and Vandana Shiva was the main person who fought it and got it back to us.
But for patent, you need to have 3 conditions met.
Those 3 conditions are there.
What are those 3 conditions then?
That is, it should be your country's product, number 1. And number 2, that you are using it in a maximum way from time immemorial. And 3, whether that, third, I'm not very sure whether that country which do they produce it?
That's not.
I'm not very sure. Something. The third is with the third condition is with the other country who patents it.
Is that correct, Aaron?
Yeah. Three conditions are there.
And the conditions of conditions for patenting any.
One is you should be the owner of the product of your country, and you should be using it for that many years. And third, I'm not very sure whether that is grown in that country or not, in the one who wants.
So was it patent or was it using a trademark?
Patent. I'll tell you, turmeric, the second one, which one I said?
Okay, so let me
basmati rice and
I just want to have
neem.
After a 1-year battle with the India's Council of Scientific Industrial Research, CSIR, which argued that turmeric, a native Indian plant, had been used for centuries by its people for wound healing, and so lacked the novelty criteria for patenting. The India agency hired a US patent lawyer and spent $15,000 to fight the case, which it supported with documents ranging from scientific publications to books on home remedies and ancient Ayurvedic texts on Indian systems of medicine. So the Indian scientist in 1997 claimed this is the first time that the United States had decision to patent a natural product had been overturned. But for example, the earlier attempt to remove the patents on the neem tree had ended in failure.
Okay, basmati rice.
So if you can use some extract, then they're saying it's not in its natural state.
Exactly. So you can't.
I'm not very sure. I'm really not very sure about that.
That's what I wanted to.
That extract. For example, India can take out the extracts of turmeric or something and sell it as a powder, which can go into the market, I suppose.
That can be patented.
That could be patented.
Not in natural form.
But the thing is that a patent is only valid for the time limit.
Yes,
time limits. Yes.
So,
and if you do not renew, then you lose it.
No, you can't renew. So the time limit.
No, I suppose
is
you
only.
can.
No, you cannot.
You can reapply.
No, you cannot. So the patent is only valid for the first period of, let's say, 15 or
That's
depending on the number of years. That's it. So after that, it's already been patented.
I'll
so you
do
cannot,
a little more research and get back to you on that.
So that's the patent law. And so so actually the courts, I think, gradually are accepting this the reformulation of natural medicinal products is not,
Patented.
well, not patentable because it lacks a novelty.
Yeah, that's the first criteria for patency is to have
Well,
novelty. So identifying something like turmeric has got certain properties, but I think when certain molecules from or elements of turmeric in molecular forms can be patented, then, but if not in natural form itself.
Yes, but in fact the age of these great patent exploration was really in the 1980s and 90s. So the patents, once they're expired, you can't patent the same chemical again. That's not.
Yeah.
So
I'm not very sure. I'll have to find out. Because I remember I was reading somewhere, if you don't renew it, it lapses, something like
no,
that.
it's not about. Well, of course, that's renewing for short term, but the maximum period is 15 years. But in fact, for drugs in the 1990s, the Indian pharmaceutical patents were only 4 years long. And then as India joined WTO, then the condition of WTO was to recognize a longer period for patent protection. But still, it expires after a certain number of years.
That's why India got huge market of generic drugs.
Yeah.
Because you can't patent them. It's molecular. Same goes with natural products, because natural products in their own form.
Yeah.
That was Convention on Biological Diversity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They said you can't patent
Can
them.
I ask you slightly different, slightly difficult question? I hope you don't mind. One of the things about me known is that I take not human rights issues like India. One of the lesser things known about me is I've often taken issues with my own community about where they don't stand according to principles they keep on going on about. I think it's important for individuals to stand both, if they are saying something. You said a lot of things on how to treat animals, etc. But cows are treated so badly in India. It is better for them to be killed rather than the way they are beaten every day, they are treated badly every day, they die of hunger. The Ganga is one of the most polluted rivers in the water. Where is the reverence for that river waters and things like that? And I can go on and on. So between theory and practice, what has happened? What has gone wrong?
For me, I was supposed to talk on the scriptures, I thought.
Yeah.
But what is the real situation? I'm very much aware. Those days, the number of people were much less. Now, India's population is 1.40 crores. I think the land is not even able to accommodate that much population, I suppose. Ganges, I don't know, in some parts they are pretty clean, that I have seen in Rishikesh and further down, it's pretty clean, but Banaras I don't know. Actually, I'm very much happy that they are doing the waterways in all these rivers, so it will get some attention. Like Haldia to Banaras has already started, and I suppose they are also going to introduce some cruise there. So if you are going to introduce the cruise, then automatically those areas will look clean and neat. So I suppose they do something for the rivers. Till now they have not touched the rivers. I heard that there are 5 or 6 areas in India which is going to be converted into waterways. So I thought that is a good step, because only depending on land transport may not be very good enough for transporting goods. Not for human beings, but for transporting goods, it takes a very long time. Waterways are much more quicker. So that's part of it. Well, the rest of what you're talking about, the cleanliness, filth, the treatment to cow in, you know that in India there are many beef eaters. So again, the cows are slaughtered in India. So because we also in Hindu there are also many non-vegetarians. Yeah. So they eat. They may not be eating beef, but they do eat meat. So these are all problems and issues. I'm not saying no to anything. Now, what is the solution? I myself don't know.
I think one of the I was watching documentary 3 days ago actually on YouTube on cleaning of Ganges in India, because that's Prime Minister's town basically, isn't it?
Yeah. They have been doing something.
Yeah, but,
I've seen some photographs.
They tested the water. It was BBC documentary. You can go on BBC World, and it's a documentary on Ganges River cleaning after the PM took over as his baby town basically. And they showed that the main ghat, where there are lots of ghat in India where they do all the rituals and also not bury, they burn the bodies and all those sorts of things. And they took fecal matter. They took water sample from those two main ghats where actually people do the pujas maximum, and compared it with other ghats along the river, and the two main ghats had the maximum amount of ppm of fecal matter, and average fecal matter should be under 500 ppm, and it was over 20 to 30,000, 200 to 500,000 of ppm of fecal matter in those ghats. And so where is the cleanliness?
So does that mean we're going for a swim there?
You go, I won't.
Okay.
I don't want to die that soon, thank you.
Okay. So maybe it's a good way.
It's a flowing
It's a holy
water.
river to
It
live
doesn't
alive.
remain there. It's a flowing water.
It's a flowing water, but
So
but the
when
composition-
it is a low when it is low, the fecal content is more. But when there is a flood, there is hardly any fecal
I'm
content.
not sure if the flood would change the
Yes.
content of the fecal matter per
Well,
se.
the flood-
Definitely,
well, flood
definitely.
would
The
probably
volume of water
Increase
is.
it.
Increase the amount of diversity
Yeah,
because they're flooding more
microbiota.
toilets. So you go.
Yeah, so I think fecal matter would probably increase because of the flooding. But it's a big documentary on Banaras, BBC World. I watched it a couple of days ago and it was quite shocking.
I didn't say any time that India is clean, neat.
No.
I have also lots of complaints about India's
yeah.
cleanliness, the road, the way they make the road. Like I just told you, I went to Thailand. Their roads were so good, and I was just comparing it with India. Why can't we make like this roads? Why can't we make the roads like the flyovers like this? And it was a poorer country than India, but look at that, if 1 rupee is equal to 2.5 baht, so they are much more better off in economy than us. Why, if they can do, why can't we do? This is the question.
It's also, for me, that was, of course, that the story started from patents and came to fecal matter somehow. I don't know how it, but it's for me interesting is how do you practically, it was very insightful what you spoke, that was my fault. It was very useful, very useful. I don't know all these things in much detail, so I'm quite amazed by all these things. But how do you practically apply those things,
The scriptures,
in scientific development or community development? That's the thing, that's the link I want to find.
Yeah, that's in a way that's what I'm asking. That,
Where is the link?
Yeah, where is it either gone wrong or where is it
Or it doesn't
distorted?
exist.
Why is it distorted?
Everybody has forgotten that.
Yeah.
That's what you have to revive it and put it back into the system. Like I told you, my father used to recite these things. Now, which father doesn't recite anything of their children? Do they even ever keep a Sanskrit song? Do they know what is Sanskrit?
Yeah.
So,
I studied Sanskrit till 12th class.
yeah,
So I can read Sanskrit pretty well and I understand it.
correct.
But for me, all the Vedas, scriptures and all these things, how do you use them in present time in a practical way so that it is suitable
For example, when the marriage is conducted, they use the Sanskrit slokas.
Yes.
I'll just say one. Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvanta Sadhage Saranye Brand. Now this is a sloka. This is a sloka which is an auspicious occasion. It is mentioned.
Yes.
So you say.
I recite the same mantra every morning.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
So,
it may be giving you some internal peace. You will never realize. You may not realize it.
But that's the spirituality side of it, and I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
As somebody with a scientist hat on or public health hat on, how do you kind of connect in a practical way so that it's evidence-based and it's useful?
To play devil's advocate, it's often religion holding back scientific advancements or people following what science is saying. So, for example,
But there's so much rich.
true, but more
Literature
often than not, people focus on the other aspects of religion, which
Yeah, exactly.
they use
And
to
that's
contradict
sad.
science. So maybe not using religion to begin with, just trying to focus on the science, and then somehow trying to introduce the bits that have the same conclusion as the scientific basis is the way forward. I think we keep pressing with religion as the way to actually fix scientific problems. It's not really going to help in the long run, because a lot of times we see it all over the world, even in America, that people are using kind of non-scientific methods even to dispute things like climate science or evolution. So there's a lot of denial about what's actually happening. So focusing on the actual science is probably first and foremost the most important part.
But have you seen that Ministry of Ayurveda or something in India? We have
Ayush.
Ayush is a form of
But
it's a
minister there,
ministry.
yeah.
So they have created actually a huge database,
Yes.
genetic databases, and also medical databases of all those things that you have
Yes.
suggested. And
Yes.
I think it would be a great idea. I'm sure people
There is
are already
one-
doing it, but
I have met this gentleman from Bangalore who's done this in Bangalore, and we have an Ayurvedic Indian traditional medical science. We have a group like that in London,
Right.
and we have meetings, and we meet. Ayurvedic Day is celebrated once in the House of Commons and once in the European Parliament. On both the days, all the big people come, and that's where I had met this man. And he said, I have made this full directory of the Ayurvedic products and everything about Ayurveda. And, like a click in the button, and you come to know everything. My memory is getting slack, I think, because of my age. But I don't remember his name. I think Srinivas or something like that. I met him last Ayurveda Day.
yeah, so I think there's a lot of richness there, but I just need to be.
Not only that, I will also enlighten you that these people from the Ayurveda Society, they have made a Vastu house, Vastu village, somewhere. I think it is around 300 kilometers from here, and the whole village is it's an English people who are living there. It's all constructed on the basis of Vastu, and it's become a sort of a tourist place. People go there and visit everything and then come back, something like that. So I will give you the information also for that. If anybody wants to go, you can go and see. So they are doing quite a lot of work, but the English medicine, the allopathy medicine, and people who advocate allopathic medicine are not allowing the Ayurveda, the Indian traditional medicines to progress, surge ahead. They are putting barriers.
So I think the last question I have is, how do we compromise, Sukran wrote, for example, with the overpopulation of animals? And she gave the example of the recent killing of camels in Australia, because they were an introduced animal, introduced with Afghan herdsmen many century ago, and now overrun the fragile environment, so we're just shooting them. Also, we have a recent case in Botswana of having to cull elephants. They issued hunting licenses for people to hunt the elephants because there's so much human population that there's not enough space for the elephants, and actually in Botswana there's too many elephants for the land. So how do we deal with these compromises on the values as the human population gets too large? Because earlier you gave some scriptures about the importance of natural plants and people, but what was the approach when we had an overpopulation of people and not enough space for other plants and animals?
You know, I'm reminded it's not a good idea to kill the animals or anything because their numbers have increased. But you know, the earth by itself takes a natural course of action. So, for example, if the number of deers have gone up, you know, every 25 years, you know, you will, if you go back and read some of the reports, there's a mass death of deers or mass death of tigers. So this is the nature's way of cutting down the overgrowth and balancing it. Or it comes in the way of a calamity when too many people or the animals die, or it comes in the way of forest burning and so many animals die. So it comes in the natural courses, I think, according to whatever my belief is, that anything that is excess automatically goes out somehow, and then it gets balanced eventually. This is what I think.
But in the past...
But I wouldn't kill an elephant or a camel or anything just because their numbers have gone up.
What about the Vedic scriptural approaches to war, to conflict?
War.
Because there was war in the past.
Sorry, just to address that point, I think there's a misconception in the question.
Yep.
This overpopulation of animals isn't from wild animals. The majority of animals that are alive on this planet, in the billions, are because of factory farming and because of meat eating. So I think just to read this, I think 4% of all mammals on this planet are wild, which implies that the majority of this so-called overpopulation is man-made. It's only there because of a demand for meat. So I think there's a misconception that the wild animal numbers are actually very tiny.
But if human beings have left only 4% of the land for natural parks, and they wanted to grow the cattle to make hamburgers, then what happens to the elephants?
Yeah, so the point is this isn't a natural, it's not a naturally occurring problem. This is a man-made situation, and the question almost implies that this is a problem that nature's created, which it hasn't. This is a man-made problem which purely exists because of our desire to eat meat. If that was curtailed slightly, then you'd have more land for crops for humans, there'll be more antibiotics available, there'll be more water available for plants, so it would solve a lot of problems. But yeah, I don't think the question really gets to the true root of the problem, which is our consumption of meat is causing this supposed overpopulation and like zoonotic infections and other environmental problems, which is obviously the basis of this conference.
Yes, I was talking about the wild animals, not
I meant the question, it was ill-conceived.
Well, so the question was the case in Australia of camels. Camels are not concerned for meat, but they were introduced as vehicles for people in the desert, and they're an introduced species. And in another example is in the New Zealand policy to eliminate all introduced animals from the natural system in the next 20 years, so that we will only have wild existing flora. Again, these are not so much, now they're excluding meat animals, but they're talking about possums and deers which go into the forest and eat the birds' eggs. So that's, but yes, we have the pressure on land is from conversion to agriculture, which we heard in the earlier talk from Meena. But also there's an overpopulation question of overpopulation of human beings.
human.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 billion people.
I really, in countries where there are too much of people, they should introduce some policy, I feel. If you had more than two kids, then you have to pay tax, excess tax or something like that. I mean, I feel otherwise it's a country would be crammed up with only people without any good facilities, or they have to live in inhuman conditions. They have to. So it's better to have a policy where more than 2 children not allowed. Or if you produce, you have to pay tax.
I think in a previous life you were born in China.
Yeah, exactly.
No, nowhere near China.
Not in previous life, or probably some inspiration.
Yeah.
But think logically. Normally I wouldn't think, but look at India,
Yeah.
140 crores people. Where is the land? Where is the place? What facility can you do? Whatever you do, nothing shows.
Yes.
They are doing so many things every day, something or the other, but nothing shows because of the people.
Yeah.
It is like my family. If I have 10 children, what would I have done? Could I, satisfy all the 10 kids? Some person say, I don't want this, somebody will cry. So it's like, it's not going to be organized. So for a proper organization, you need to have some sort of rules.
Yes, but that's why I say the Chinese population policy has been to impose a tax.
But they are facing problem in China. Once they introduced this draconian policy, now what happens is the children all come here and none of them go back. They
Yeah.
come to the Western countries to study because they are funded by the Chinese government. They continue to stay, they get married to some white person or a British or somebody, they continue to stay here, they don't go back, parents are alone there. So this is one of the problem that has come into light because of their policy, and though China is the leading populated country now, very soon India will take over because their population is declining. The rate of growth, that's the right thing, is declining now.
Yes, Ms. Mosta, you've opened up many aspects when we talk about worldviews of nature. It includes our own worldview of ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.